Welcome everybody to our Hoops 2024 product update. I'm Gabe Perigine from TechSoft 3D, and I'll be your host this afternoon. Thanks to everyone for joining us. We're glad that you could make it, and I'm super excited to share all the wonderful information about what's new and what's upcoming for our Hoops products. I'm joined today by my colleagues Lionel Vieli and Marco Salino, our Hoops product managers. Before we get started, I do have some housekeeping items to go over. First off, this will be recorded and made available and shared after today's session. And secondly, we will have time for Q&A towards the end of the session. So if you have any questions, just feel free to put them in the question and answer panel, and we'll get to them towards the end. Next up, I do want to just go over our agenda really briefly here. First, we'll just do a general TechSoft 3D overview. Then we'll talk about Hoops Exchange and data access, and Hoops Publish, and then our graphics SDKs, Hoops Communicator Visualize, and our new SDK, Hoops Luminate. And then after that, we will have a question and answer session. So without all of the housekeeping items out of the way, let's go ahead and kick things off. For our Hoops veterans, I do apologize. This might be a repeat for you, but I just kind of wanted to give everyone an overview about who TechSoft 3D is and kind of what we do. So we fuel innovation with unmatched 3D technology. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but what that means is that we're here to power your innovative apps that you bring to market, your 3D applications. And that's really what inspires us to do what we do, and that's why we're here. So just a quick overview of our SDKs. We have a variety of SDKs. Today, we will be focused on our Hoops product line. So for data access, file import, you got Hoops Exchange. Our visualization SDKs are Hoops Visualize, which is our native 3D graphics engine. Hoops Communicator, which is our web 3D graphics engine. And our new product, Hoops Luminate, which is advanced and photorealistic rendering, as well as our 3D PDF SDK for export Hoops Publish. We also have a bundle of these as platforms, so our Hoops native platform and our Hoops web platform. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand things off to Lionel to talk about Hoops Exchange and Hoops Publish. Lionel, over to you.
Yep. Thank you, Gab. So, hello everybody. I'm Lionel Vieli, product manager for our Hoops data access toolkit, Hoops Exchange, as well as our publication toolkit, Hoops Publish. So, for those who are not familiar with Exchange, I will make a quick intro about it, and then I will move to what's been delivered last year, and finally give you an overview about what our plans are for this year. So Exchange is, as you know, an engineering SDK toolkit that delivers access to more than 30 CAD and BIM formats through a single interface. So it's fundamentally about allowing your application to read CAD and BIM formats, so like TIV5, Creo, Inventor, NX, Revit, and more, and also to enable your application to export data to standard formats such as STEP, GT, and others. So what we see from our partners is that they are developing many different types of application for different purposes, of course. So it can be design, PLM, data management, solutions, analysis, manufacturing, quality inspection, digital factory, and many more. So what's key is that Hoops Exchange provides a fast and accurate access to all the data needed by these different workflows without depending on the original software. And beyond this, another key point is that by providing access to non-geometric information, such as metadata, such as, for example, semantic definition of product manufacturing information, semantic of features, Exchange makes it also possible to optimize and even automate processes. So last point to mention is that solutions our partners develop are sometimes having modeling kernels like Parasolid, Open Cascade, and other. And of course, Exchange must, or the data from Exchange must be readable by these modeling kernels. So Exchange comes with a set of advanced functions that can adapt the right geometry so that it fits, it meets the requirements of these kernels. So moving to what has been delivered last year, the first point I'm going to mention is about technology updates. So it's not shown on this slide, or the slide which should appear in a couple of seconds. Thank you. But technology update is our, I would say, first priority, since our partners are, of course, expecting to access to the latest version of these CAD formats as quickly as possible. So last year we delivered 40 updates, and 14, sorry, and several in less than 80 days. And also, beyond this, we are allocating significant efforts to fix your high priority issues. And beyond this, of course, we are adding value to the product by addressing several of your feature requests. So the goal being here to optimize your workflow or even to enable new workflows. So I'll give you a few examples. So the first one is CATIA v5 publication, support of publications or publication names. So publications in CATIA are references stored in the CAD model. So it can be a reference to a body, to a face, to an edge, or whatever. And these references, once read by Exchange, can be accessed, can be used in other applications, like, for example, to define loading case in an analysis context. So it's a way to maintain the continuity in between the CAD model, the CAD, and downstream applications, especially when the CAD model is updated, is modified. For Solid Edge, we did improve model fidelity by supporting some new capabilities of Solid Edge. So one being geometries that can be defined at the assembly level. So this is what you see on the screenshot here. The frame elements from this assembly are not defined as components, but directly within the assembly. So it's well supported now. And we also introduced the ability to load all the configurations, which brings value, especially in PLM environment. For example, when a new assembly is checked in, all the different configurations from the model, from the assembly, can be directly imported. For NX, so same to guarantee that the data are well read with a high model fidelity. We implemented the ability to load assemblies, including some external references to GT components and to GT assemblies. And the last point here is about advanced workflow and also performance. So by introducing the ability to incrementally load large GT files, so we are speaking here about monolithic assemblies. So everything is stored in one single file. So having the ability to incrementally load this makes it possible to focus on a subset of the assembly and therefore to save time and memory, limit the memory footprint. So previous topics were MCAD focused, but of course we continue our investment in AEC and BIM. So last year we worked on IFC performance. There were models, large models, where the reading time was not acceptable from the end user perspective, and sometimes even some models were not readable or read by Exchange due to size and complexity. So there's been a deep rework of the IFC reader, and now we think it's meeting market expectations. And for Revit, we made several improvements to better manage some visibility, color, transparency for objects like light sources, masses, glass panels, and more. And at the same time, also we improved the way we manage the level of detail, so the tessellation quality of these objects when the Revit model is loaded. So next point is about usability and developer experience. And we are definitely willing to make it easier to implement Exchange. So first is about the C# version of Exchange. C# is a popular language, and for many technical reasons, and it's often the preferred language by developers. So last year we industrialized the C# version of Exchange, and it's now officially available as part of our package. Second topic is about usability. So we know that the CAD concepts are complex. For example, I can mention inheritance mechanism or override mechanisms that we can see inside the assemblies. So it has an impact on the positioning matrix of the components, on the colors. It can have an impact on metadata values. So Exchange API provides a full and accurate access to all this information, so including this what I just described. And this is, I would say, very useful, even mandatory for several use cases. But it's also having a price, of course, in terms of learning curve and in terms of implementation time. And we see on the flip side, or conversely, let's say, we see some use cases where all these concepts are not required. If you want, for example, to simply load a model and display it, so for simple visualization, for AR/VR purposes, for 3D printing. So in fact, we made a first step last year by delivering a set of new high-level functions that really ease the access to the tree, to the structure of the assembly, and also to ease the access to the tessellation and some more information. And this will be continued this year. Last point is about the documentation. So we also took the opportunity to rework or to improve, let's say, our documentation so that new developers are more guided when they engage and learn OOPS Exchange. So moving now to to our plans for this year. We will keep our focus, of course, on updating our technology, as I said earlier. And second priority will be to solve your high priority issues. So regarding format updates, we are planning to deliver 15 this year. Beside this, we will also address any identified vulnerabilities, which is very important for I know many of you, and we will also introduce the support of the Linux ARM architecture. And just a quick note about some changes that are happening this year. We have, as you may have seen, we have a new release naming conventions. And as part of our process of delivering more releases, reason being that we want to reduce the time to deliver bug fixes, we will have 9 OOPS releases this year compared to 7 last year. So let's move to initiatives that we have planned for this year. So similarly, we will move to we will improve our CAD readers, so extract more information to support advanced workflows. So some examples here. First one is a physical definition of material for all the CAD formats. So currently, Exchange is already able to extract material names, densities information, but here the idea is to extract more, so like Poisson ratio, Young modulus, shear modulus, and others. Information that are, of course, very valuable in the analysis space, especially if they can be directly extracted with Exchange. And we will take also the opportunity to create a new function to define these material properties if they need to be exported from Exchange afterwards. So another topic is Creo layers. So we know that the structure of the model, the way data are organized is, of course, important in some downstream applications, such as manufacturing, for example. So this was for Q1, and for Q2, we will invest on SolidWorks sheet metal features. So design features are already supported by Exchange for several formats, so SolidWorks, CATIA V5, NX, Creo also. But here it's about going one step deeper in this, I would say, vertical of sheet metal to help some CAM applications to plan and to simulate bending operations. And last point for Q2 is about GLTF format. We see a growing adoption of it, and there is this format enables extensions, and one being called Draco. So it's about compression to limit the size, to reduce the size of these GLTF files, and it's a kind of must-have. So we will implement it. We will support it, the Draco, for our GLTF reader and writer at the end of Q2. Another topic is tessellation. So it's very important because I would say all of our partners are leveraging our tessellation almost. We know that the standard tessellation of Exchange is mostly meant for visualization. It's fast to generate, and it's good enough. So for this standard visualization, but we have identified, and some of our partners also, some cases like high-end, high-quality rendering, I would say, where there are some limitations or some small issues. So this initiative is about first introducing as a post-process the ability to fix some of these identified limitations. So one being what's called T-junctions. And doing this, we will also address some of the cases, corner cases that we have identified, again to improve the quality. And what's important here is that we don't want, of course, to impact performance, because it's key to have this tessellation generated very, very quickly. And also we will consider further improvements because we know that this tessellation could be also used as a base for some analysis workflows. So could be in some cases remeshed, and for this we need to improve it. So regarding AEC market, AEC applications, we will continue our efforts here mostly to enable more data, to enable your applications to import more types of data, and we will have a focus on MicroStation, Bentley MicroStation reader this year. MicroStation is used in different areas: architecture, infrastructure, and plant design, and it is still well used, broadly used, let's say. So we'll focus on the 3D data reading for the DGN format in version 7 and version 8. So this should come as a first, let's say, beta version, middle of the year, and we are targeting the end of the year to officially release it. And for IFC, we will work based on your request, and we know that there are some classes that we have to read, some new classes, some new semantic data to extract, and we will have also a particular attention to IFC 4.3, since also there are some classes that some of our partners are interested in. And the last point, as I said, we continue our investments in developer experience, or let's say usability. So for the high-level APIs, we have already identified some important functions. So beyond what's been delivered last year, we will now have some functions that will focus on access to colors, access and activation of views, and similarly access and activation of configurations. And the second topic is about Python. So we of course see a growing demand for Python language, and we will start this project this year. So we are planning to identify and confirm what the use cases and workflows would be for a Python version of Exchange. Then, of course, identify what would be the required functions. And after this, we are planning to start this work later this year, with maybe outcome at the end of the year. So these are our plans for Exchange. I will move to publish quickly, and so. Oops Publish is a solution to generate rich and interactive 3D PDF documents. So, for example, it can be technical data packages, work instructions, reports, and many other. So with Publish, it's easy to generate these advanced PDF documents from your application. There are a few steps, in fact. So first it's about defining a 3D model, including views, including PMIs. With Publish, it's also possible to combine or to aggregate this 3D model, this document, with other business critical information. So it can be metadata, it can be a bill of material, part list. And then you can insert, of course, 2D information, 2D objects in the document. So it can be very simple objects like text fields, buttons, or advanced widgets like a carousel of view. You can see it on the screenshot, or it could be a part list, for example. And the last point, it's about defining the interactivity in between all these different data that are stored, accessible in the PDF document. And the overall objective, of course, is that these documents can be easily and efficiently consumed in the free Adobe Reader. So what's been delivered last year? So a key point when we speak about PDF-based workflows is model fidelity. So last year, this has been our focus. We have addressed several limitations and issues that were coming from the Adobe Reader, from the Adobe solutions. They were not limitations from Publish, but we have the ability, with our partnership with Adobe, to do this, which is good news. So we fixed some issues regarding views orientations, for example. We did add the ability in the reader to render PMI markups with line patterns, and also to render datum directions. So here it's about displaying a single arrow. So again, it was not possible in the reader, but now it is. Aside this, we did update several times the PDF library, so dependency from Publish, of course, and this was mostly motivated by solving vulnerabilities. And the last point is that we reshaped our software bill of material within the documentation to provide you with more accurate and comprehensive and also up-to-date information regarding the external dependencies from Publish. And so our plans for this year. So similarly, we will have a focus on model fidelity, but we want also to expand some capabilities. So with here it's about highlight behavior for a better user experience also, I would say. So for example, if a component or if is selected from a bill of material inside the PDF document, or if a PMI is selected from a list of PMI, it's the highlight is something very important. The visual response in the 3D model is something very important, and here we will introduce new options, so that it's possible to have different behaviors, blinking objects, choice of color, and more. We are in the process of deprecating one function, so we already have a new function to replace this one, but there is still some work to be done. And the idea behind the scene, of course, here is to reduce external dependencies and associated risks. So it's a project we'll finalize this year, and maintain our technology up to date and to get rid of any possible vulnerabilities or identified vulnerabilities. We will keep updating, maintaining our technology up to date. So this is it for Publish. I let Marco speak about our graphic engines. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lionel. So my name is Marco Salino. I'm the product manager for the visualization products, as you just heard, the Hoops products. And these are Hoops Communicator, Visualize, and the newly released Hoops Luminate. So let's start talking about Hoops Communicator. So if you don't know it yet, Hoops Communicator is our solution for building leading 3D application for the engineering world, for the web engineering world. It is used by hundreds of partners for hundreds of products in pretty much all domains. It is optimized to work on all web browsers and for engineering workflows. It comes with all the operators that you may need to build a successful engineering 3D web app. It can work very well with massive models, being these monolithic files or assemblies made of many parts. It can work in shutter mode or monolithic mode, and it supports both client and server-side rendering. Means you can get the rendering done on the server or locally on the machine without having to rewrite the code. You just have to flick a switch in your application and you can change between the two. It's been used for building viewing application, but also apps for more advanced editing and authoring workflows in many domains. Okay, thank you, Gabe. So let's look at what we did last year in Hoops Communicator. So in 2023, we focused on making Communicator more robust, safer, but also more modern. An example of this work is the introduction of a custom stream cache server input-output. So what it is, it basically consists of two new APIs in the product, C++ one and the REST one, and also a demo application to work to demonstrate how this works. So the purpose of this stream cache server is to provide an input-output interface that you can plug into pretty much any file system, being desktop or cloud-based, and directly in memory. So there's no need for having any footprint on the server disk, which is very positive for both efficiency and security. This new API can abstract any file system. It allows to run a stream cache server headless, and of course, you can use the new REST API for a better developer experience. With this new interface, as you might imagine, you can use much cheaper storage solutions from pretty much all cloud providers. We always try to be agnostic from the point of view. An example could be Azure Blob or the AWS S3. This way, you can drive down your operating costs significantly, especially with the size of the data we have to work with increasing all the time. As I mentioned before, there is a demonstration, there is a demo app, and basically it's a sample file server that can be plugged into this interface and simulate an Azure Blob storage file system. On the same line of modernizing and kind of trying to adhere to the always ever-evolving web best practices, we worked on exposing all the parameters of Hoops Exchange. Before, we only give you access to a handful of these, and they were kind of scattered in different portions of the code. What we did is we opened up the door to all of the import parameters in Converter, and we place all of them into a single XML file so that it is much easier to manage, and you have full control on the data import process. Thank you, Gabe. You can go to the next slide. Super. So no, sorry, the one before. Yeah, sorry, where? Okay, thanks. So modern web application need to do more than just viewing data. There's a need to edit and order this data at different levels. We are seeing that, and this trend is gonna increase and probably speed up as the web technology evolves. So to keep improving these capabilities, we kind of went to look at some of the current partner requests in this area, and we decided to implement a few that could benefit a larger number of our partners. For example, we added a web viewer API for changing the phone material data, specular, ambient, and diffuse, if I'm not mistaken. And also, we added a new web viewer API to edit and manage lights from a web viewer. In addition to this, we also created a sample application to show how these changes can be saved and reapplied to the models. We believe that if you make changes to a scene, there's a good chance you want to replay or reapply these changes to the same model. So we show you how this can be serialized to an external JSON file and reloaded and reapplied to a model. Again, trying to listen to partner requests, we, coming from kind of a different directions, we try to also implement a few more that might help with productivity. For example, we improved the level of support of the 3D connection devices. We've seen they are kind of gaining grounds in several applications. So now you have a more standardized experience when this is working with Communicator. And we also added an API to automatically extract the capping geometry of any of any capped-in sections for any 3D model. It was possible before, but it needed manual work, and now we automated this process for you. Okay, thank you, Gabe. So let's look at what we are going to work on this year for the future releases. One initiative we have been working on and will keep working on is to help you guys in the transition from desktop to web. This is a hot topic, and we want to make sure that we can assist you and accompany you throughout a successful journey. We know that the web application will need to become, we said it before, more powerful, more flexible, more capable, and we want to make sure we're giving you the tools to build this new kind of application. So we will keep adding incrementally new functionalities and capabilities to enable the creation of this application and make sure they can withstand the requirements for different workflows in different domains. We are going to look at what we can do now. For example, we already have a BCF revision workflow that's possible. We're going to take it to the next level so that you can use Communicator to build a completely cloud-based collaboration workflow or service. Then we're going to do the same thing for PLM and CAD. So we're going to do some improvement in the product configuration area. So improve how we can handle assemblies and edit the model tree, apply transform to different parts, maybe relook at how our shutter mode works and see if we can improve it. And in the future, we want to improve our interaction with modelers and give the possibility to easily change or edit the geometry from the web viewer, maybe change the point of a mesh or create geometry primitives in Communicator and then be able to edit this. Of course, we sell Parasolid and Polygonica, so we're going to work at the integration with this. But we also want Communicator to be the front end for as many leading 3D web applications as we can. So we want it to work with as many toolkits as possible, smoothly and easily. Thank you, Gabe. So in addition to that, of course, we'll continue our effort to modernize Communicator, make sure it can work with can adhere to current best practices and let you develop, with modern tools and environments. As the first result of this initiative that kind of started a while back, we're not starting today. Soon you'll be able to work with Communicator using the ESM format for importing our SDK. This will give you improved maintainability, better compatibility as ESM is supported natively in more modern JavaScript environments, and you'll have a more streamlined dependency management. So make it simpler to integrate our SDK and reduce the complexity of managing dependencies across different projects. So the web viewer will be modular and it'll be possible to create single-page applications where the content can be dynamically changed without having to reload the whole app. So if you look at the Office 365 application on the web can do, that's pretty much the same concept. Again, to build a more modern application, we'll need a more modern UI framework and possibly a more modern UI for our own demo app to show how this can work. The ultimate goal here is to provide a more flexible and easier to customize tool that you can use to build quicker your application, making them your own. You can use some of the UI we distribute, you can use part of it, or completely do your own or tweak it so that you can build the application that you need easily and quickly. We're also going to work on multiple canvases, off-screen renderer. We heard this request from several partners now, so we are kind of ready to start working on it this year, and we'll continue our effort to make our API simpler to use, again, to make sure you can work following best practices. On the same train of thought, we're going to update the technologies. We need to stay up to date with what's going around in the development world. So we're going to upgrade the supported version of Node.js, of the server OS that we support, and also add support for Linux ARM. Lina talked about it. We're getting more requests as this architecture can save, again, cost in cloud instances. It's a lot more efficient. So we think it's important for us to provide this across all our portfolios. Okay, thank you, Gabe. Here we can see a very quick condensed timeline, all we talked about, divided by quarter. You can see which releases are going to fall in each quarter. So take it with a pinch of salt, but this is the plan we're going to work with. Okay, thank you, Gabe. We can go to the next slide, and we can move to Visualize. Visualize, it's our native solution for building the same type of leading 3D engineering applications. It has been around for many years. It's very robust, very well known and proven. It's performant. It is one of the few, probably the only graphic engine that's not single purpose, meaning it can work very well with massive files made of lots of triangles, but also with large assemblies made of, maybe thousands of parts, each of these, of course, having less triangles. But usually 3D graphic engines can only work well in one of the scenarios, and they're called a single purpose. Performs, again, very well on all platforms, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, iOS, and Android. And it comes with all the engineering all the engineering operators you need to build a great app, and you can extend them, you can customize them, you can build your own, but you have a great canvas to start with. Okay, so let's review what we did last year in Visualize. So as I mentioned, Visualize is very mature, robust, performant, and we want to keep its track record for more decades. And so we went on and fixed as many of the reported issues as we could. But we also wanted to add more value with features and capabilities that have been requested, and they can resolve existing problems or maybe improve common workflows, day-to-day workflows. So one example is a new API we added for importing point cloud data into the out-of-core database without going through the Windows executable, so without having to pre-process the app using the data using this application and then do a file conversions. So now there is a new way that works, aside the other one. So we're not going to remove the executable for the time being, but now you can import the data programmatically. So means you have a leaner, more efficient process, and in the future we can add support for OOC also for Mac and Linux, because you won't need to use a Windows executable to pre-process and convert the data. This also opens up other possibilities. Again, in the future, we could think of dynamically add data to the OOC for point cloud streaming, and we can look at more advanced functionalities that may be useful. Thank you, Gabe. Next slide. So another example of the features we added for helping with common workflows, lies with the measuring tools. Visualize, of course, includes all the most common operators, and includes, of course, measuring tools. Counts with ready-to-use measuring tools. It also has the possibility of the capability to isolate geometry. Isolating geometry means you have a large assembly, like you can see here in the picture. You need to work only on a couple of parts of this geometry, and you can hide everything else so that they don't get in the way. We could do both, of course, already, but we found out that the two operators didn't work very well together in all scenarios. So we went back, we did some kind of a low-level changes on how the isolated status work and some tweaks on the measuring tools, so that now you can hide geometry while retaining the visibility of your measurements or applying measurements to parts which are isolated. Okay, thank you, Gabe. So now what's gonna happen this year for future releases? Well, we all know that the projects are getting larger, more complex. The 3D data that's now required by pretty much all of these projects is growing. It's getting more complex, comes from more sources, made of different type of data, aggregated together. So we want to keep focusing on making sure Visualize can handle all these data and with all its complexity. We want Visualize to keep being performant and scalable for the future. So again, we'll start by listening to current problem experienced by our partners, and we'll see where can we work what can we do to address these problems. As a result, we decided to work on a video RAM management system that will let you basically analyze the usage of the GPU and the system memory so that the system can pick which one is more available and more performant at the time to avoid bottlenecks and slow down of your programs. We're going to improve the performance of our segment display list. We think there is room for improvement there too. And in addition to that, we will look at how we can improve or render faster the text in several conditions and use cases. Thank you, Gabe. So another project we have been working on for a while is adding support for volumetric rendering. This is a very complex and large project, but we think it'll bring value in many use cases and domains, and will open up new opportunities for Visualize and for your applications. So we decided to split this project now in different phases so that we can develop and release more incrementally, so we can get validation, let's say, continuously and make sure we are testing the direction we are taking and the solution we are chosen are good for solving the problems. In the first phase, we'll basically we'll add the capability to define and render volume data. Then we'll add support for cadence sections and extract capping phases, similar to what we've seen in communicator. And then we'll work on selection and highlighting of these volumetric elements. So we really hope that by doing this incrementally, we can get continuous feedback and test where you're going and think of possible additional steps for us to take. Okay, thank you, Gabe. And for technology updates, Visualize couldn't really be different from the other products. So we wanted to keep being current and performant and keep leading the market for the future. So we need to stay up to date. This year, we plan to upgrade the Qt version. We'll move into Qt 6. Same is for .NET. We'll start with .NET 6 and see if we can go and support versions above. Real DWG and also Linux ARM are going to be both supported in both 3DF and HPS version towards the end of the year. Same timeline as communicator. We can refer to this when we'll make the PowerPoints available. Okay, so now last but not least, we can talk about OOPS Luminate. So OOPS Luminate is our latest addition to the OOPS portfolio. It's our solution for high fidelity, high quality rendering. What is it? It is a single API that comprises of a ray and path tracing photorealistic engine and a real-time engine that can also work in advanced real-time mode, where it gets some techniques from video games for producing very high quality rendering at interactive frame rates. It uses its own realistic materials. These materials are proprietary. They're based on physical properties. As the name suggests, they are really realistic, much more than PBRs, and they're very easy to customize and make your own. We supply an extensive library of this. It's about 1,000, ready to use. They're optimized both for ray tracing and real time, and they're really ready to rock. We also are supplying or really distributing a bridge from Visualize to Hoops Luminate with Visualize. So if you have a Visualize application, now you have a bridge that can let you move the data into Hoops Luminate, where you can use all the new APIs for maximum control over your high quality rendering. Thank you, Gabe. And so for Luminate, what have you done last year? We are very busy with product launch. Not a secret, we bought Redway about a year and a half ago, and this came from the acquisition. So we did a lot of work to bring it into the Hoops ecosystem for licensing, to make sure it will work with all our existing systems. We wanted to make it consistent with the other product, and also we did spend a bit of time to integrate it with Visualize. For next year, we have a lot to do for learning and discovery yet. We're very intrigued by new use cases. We got the request, can we use it for quality control? Can it be used for simulations? Absolutely, but we need to test it in those areas because they were a little bit less conventional than before. So we're going to spend time on that. MacArm support is one kind of a big change we're going to introduce. It's already available as supported as an architecture in Visualize, and for consistency, we want this to be also in Luminate. And then we're going to explore in several directions. Can we do a better integration with Visualize? How can we integrate it effectively with Communicator? We got a request to have this available with the web platform. And then we want to see how can we take the advanced real-time rendering and the path tracer to the next level. And I think with this, I'm finished. So I'll get back to you, Gabe. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Marco and Lionel. Now is the question and answer part of our session. So if you do have a question, be sure to pop it in the Q&A. So I have a question from an anonymous attendee that says, will there ever be a headless Hoops communicator or an npm install Hoops communicator package manager?
Something we kind of touched on is not planned for this year. Maybe with the off-screen rendering could help a little bit. Offline, we can understand better what are your workflow, your use case, and I'll give you maybe a better answer. But yeah, npm is something that we thought about. It's not planned for this year, but again, it may come in the future.
Thank you, Marco. I have another question about the presentation. Yes, it will be shared at the end. There will be an email with this presentation slide deck. And the next question I have is from David. He says, what are your plans for HP Bridge in Hoops Visualize 3DF, which only still supports Parasolid 32? We've recently had to implement our own equivalent to HP Bridge so we can stay current.
I think I have to get back to you on this later. I have to talk to the team. I'm not up to speed on this.
All right. Let's see. Another question. Do you have an SDK which can be called from Java? I feel like we need more details to answer that question, but yeah.
Maybe again, if you want to shoot us an email, if you describe your workflow, what you're trying to do, I can get back to the team and see. Maybe there are ways.
All right. Looks like those are all the questions for now. So I'll go ahead and try and wrap things up here. Oh, I do have another question. Hold on. Long-term public roadmap mentions new format support for USD writer. Is that still the plan?
Yeah, it's something we haven't started, but it's definitely in our radar. So yes, it's in the long-term roadmap, and we will reconsider this project this year. Definitely.
All right. Also, are the 3DF libraries going to be depreciated? Marco, that's for you, 3DF libraries.
Sorry, now for the time being. So as you might know, like in 3DF, there's an LTS version and there's a more current version. Of course, we like everybody to move on to new HPS one, but we know if you already work on 3DF, it's a lot of effort. So for time being, it is not. But we might not guarantee that we can backport every new feature to 3DF and any version at least. But yeah, no, there's no official plans yet.
Another question, you mentioned monolith JT performance is faster. Do you support per part JT?
Can you detail the question? I'm not sure I got it.
If we can load federated models, so assemblies made of multiple JT files.
Okay, so yeah, if it is a question, yes. So
my interpretation, please.
Yeah, the loading assemblies, so loading structure only as a first step, and then triggering loading of selected sub-assemblies or components. So what we call incremental loading, so is available for multiple formats, and it's already available for GT, let's say regular assemblies. So what's new is, yeah, as you said, monolithic files, but that contain a full assembly. Yeah.
Thank you. And now, Marco, I don't see any other questions, but if they pop up, I'll ask them. So thanks everyone for joining us. Let's keep the conversation going. If you haven't already, we're going to have hoops feature voting in the forum sometime later in March. So you can join by going to forum.techsoft3d.com. It's a great place to ask just general questions and connect with other developers. So if you haven't registered already, I would recommend it.